All right. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tohar Rahman, and I believe all of us are here for the class on essay, right? So this complete batch, which year are we going to give the examination for UPSC? 25. All right. Very good. So before I start, I'll just give you a brief introduction about myself as well. I am Tohar Rahman. I have given my UPSC Civil Services examination in 2016. I cleared my prelims, I cleared my mains, and I have given my interview as well. As far as essay writing is concerned, I have got more marks than All India rank 1 in essay. So I am a specialist in essay. All right. Various other subjects as well, including the essay. So we will be, of course, dealing with essay writing today. Please note the things down, what all I mentioned. It is very important. Now, whatever I'll mention here, it will be basically the strategy, what we should do, what we should not do, how to prepare for essay, how not to prepare for essay, what we can write in essay, what we should not write in essay. I'll be telling you each and everything. Subsequently, whatever questions you may have in between, I'll give you enough time to ask those questions as well, right? So that any specific requirement, any specific question you individuals have, you can clear that as well. All right. So let's start by the very first thing. Are we aware of the syllabus? The syllabus of essay. Are we aware of the syllabus of essay? Are you aware of history syllabus? Huh? What is the history syllabus for prelims? We are not aware. So if we are playing a game and if we are not aware of the rules, right, what all it takes into account. If you're playing football, you're not aware that you have to score goals. Then how will you play it? Knowing the syllabus is very important. If you don't memorize it, that's fine. You can take a printout, print it in your wall, on your wall when you're studying, when you have back, and when you can have a look at it every day. But knowing is very important. And you know, that should come from you also. Of course, we are here to tell you right now, I'm telling you to go home and look at the syllabus, but something should come from you also, right? Now, the syllabus for history in prelims is history of India and the Indian national movement. That's it. What do you think? There is a syllabus for essay also or not? Huh? What will it be? Economics, polity, geography, history, like this? Huh? Society. What else? Environment expected. Write down. Candidates are expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay. Candidates are expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay, to arrange their ideas in an orderly fashion, and to write concisely, full stop. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression. Credit for effective. So what all has been talked about? Candidates are expected to keep closely to the subject. As in, keep closely to the subject, that's one thing. Subject of the essay. To arrange their ideas. In an orderly orderly fashion. In an orderly fashion. What else? Write concisely. Write concisely. And finally, credit will be given for effective and exact. Effective and exact expression. So if you take care of these 4 points in your essay, probably more marks than me. Okay, so make sense? Now let us understand what they are trying to say. Keep closely to the subject. So you have the question of essay, 4 topics are in section A, 4 topics are in section B, right? You have to write any one essay in section A and any one essay in section B. So whatever the topic is, right? Let's say science and technology, a bane or a boon, right? So you need to keep closely to the subject. Whatever you are writing should be relevant to what the problem statement question statement or the should not deviate. Now, it does not mean you cannot go into the polity aspect of it, the history aspect of it. You can, but you should not deviate. Things should be linked back to what is being asked. So if you're talking about environment conservation, so whatever you're talking about should be related to it. You know, generally in schools, colleges, it was at times in certain universities, it is just about how many pages you are writing. So we feel like we have to just fill the pages and we can write something good at the beginning, something mean whatever we write, it did not matter. People will just correct those papers and give some marks, thinking that you have written something. People have also written songs in the paper and got marks. Okay, but that is not what is going to work here. That is rather going to work against you, because your paper gets checked thoroughly, it gets moderated after checking, and whatever marks has been given also gets rechecked. All right, so there is a proper layer. You cannot get away with it, right? The entire, each and every word would be read multiple times by multiple teachers to give you final marks. Okay, so you have to keep closely with the subject that is given to you. That is very important. It is important in your answers also. When the question is given, we look, how many times do you read the question? 3 to 4. When? Before starting to write the answer, you read 3 to 4 times. Now that is the problem. If you read the question, let's say 100 times, just imagine you have a lot of time. If you read the question 100 times before starting the answer, and then you start the answer, what will happen? When you are writing the answer, main body of the answer, you have introduction, you have main body, and you have conclusion. Okay, so while you are writing all this, this is where you will take 7-8 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, depending upon whether it's a 10 marker or a 15 marker. So what will happen? You will forget what the question actually asked, right? And you will deviate. You will deviate. Definitely you will deviate. If not in all, some of the questions. Then what is the way? The way is not to read the question 3-4 times before starting it. The number of times which you have mentioned, let's say 3 to 4, it is a good number of time. It is an optimum number of time that you should read the question. But it's not that you read 3-4 times in the beginning and then you start writing and you don't even realize you have completely deviated. Why does that happen? Because of various reasons. One reason can be we know certain things and we want to write it, even if the question has not asked us. Happens? Does that happen with us? Just because we know we are writing it, even if the question is not asking us that. That's one thing. Second is we don't know what has been asked, so we write something else. Don't do that. It will be useless. Unnecessarily writing something which is not asked is not going to help. At the same time, you are in the flow, you're talking about advantages, and suddenly you talk about something else. and you forget that one or two things which were required I have missed. I have finished my time, finished my words, finished my pages also, right? So what is the best way to read questions? Read question 3 times is an optimum number of time. So first reading before starting, right? So you read the question, you understood, okay, what is asked. Deviation means what is asked, you're going somewhere else, deviating from the path. You were supposed to go in this direction, you took a different direction. So if you take a different direction, that is called as deviating. Okay. So first reading should be done before starting the answer. Once you read, you understood what the question has asked, you know what you will be writing, and you have written the introduction. Now, second reading should be before starting with the main body of the answer. Make sense? Sure. All right. So when have we read it first? Before starting. Then we introduced it, right? Now we have to write the main body. Before writing that, again, we read the question. And main body devoting, and this is where you will deviate. You will not deviate in introduction. You will not deviate in conclusion because they are 1-2 sentences, right? You will deviate in main body. So when you are halfway through the main body, you have addressed one dimension of the question, then read the question again what it is saying, so that the second half of your answer is also in line of what the question has asked, and then finally you conclude your answer. Make sense? This is how you deal with a question. We have talked about a question which is a very small element. Okay, now let's come back to this. So this is what is meant by keeping closely with the subject. So how can we do this in essay? Should we read the topic of the essay again and again? It won't work here, right? Later on, I'll tell you what you have to do to keep closely to the subject. Okay, we'll discuss the time allotment. You know, how much time should be given to each essay and how much time should be given to writing each essay. We'll discuss the time distribution. Again, it's very important. Then I will tell you how you can keep closely to the subject. But right now you've understood what is the concept of keeping closely to the subject. Whatever is asked, you are answering that only. Okay. Then comes arrange ideas in orderly fashion, in a proper chronology. Okay. You know, when someone makes a resume for their job, they follow a chronology from recent to earlier. So if they're recently employed at a particular organization, they'll mention that. Then before that, what it was, before that, what it was, and then their studies, graduation, 12th, 10th, so on and so forth. So there is a sequence. If you ask me to introduce myself, I may start the introduction by, you know, one particular chronology, either recent to backward or from earlier to recent, right? I will not switch, you know, suddenly talking about my previous job, then suddenly talking about my childhood, then suddenly talking about present job, then suddenly talking about my engineering. It will not make sense to you. You will be frustrated. You won't like it. You won't like to listen to what I'm saying. And if the same thing is written, I am not even in front of you, that gets even more boring and even more frustrating to the evaluator also. They are also human beings, right? So we should arrange our ideas in an orderly fashion. Now, what kind of order do I mean to say over here? You know, again, let's compare it with our answers. What our answers have? If you have been asked about, let's say, Citizenship Amendment Act. Okay, the question is like, the Citizenship Amendment Act has received a lot of criticism recently. Analyze or critically analyze. Okay, So first, what you'll do, you'll talk about what is Citizenship Amendment Act. What is Citizenship Amendment Act? What are its provisions? Okay. Which provisions has led to criticism? Criticism of which provisions? Right? Now, if these provisions were criticized, why were they brought in? Right? And what can you do to address these criticisms? So you are talking about the solution, right? But if you try to give a solution, there will be a challenge. For example, if I don't have any food to eat, so what is the solution? Go get food to eat. But then the challenge is I don't have money. Then what to do? In the same manner, you may give solution, XYZ solution, do this, do that. But those solution will have challenges. So you will then talk about what are the challenges. Then you conclude your answer. Is it logically making sense? Right? So what are we doing? Arranging an ideas in an orderly fashion. Orderly fashion need not necessarily just mean the hierarchy or a history. If I'm writing history, I'm starting with let's say 2500 BC, then going ahead 1 AD, then 1000 AD, and then present. It's not just the historical or hierarchy. It's also about the order in which you are presenting it should also be logical. Can I directly start with is what you have to follow? Any questions anyone has so far? Are you understanding everything? Are you guys noting it down? Because here everyone will enjoy it, but later on you may forget it. So it's good that you write it down. Okay, this was just an example. Just write it down that it should not just be hierarchical order, but a logical order also. Logical order you have to follow when you are writing an essay. So that is what is meant by arranging ideas in an orderly fashion. Now, they are also saying write concisely. Yes. Coming on to that, when it comes to answer writing, there is no, what do you say, placebo, or there is no one solution to it. Okay, pointers are best or paragraphs are best. People with pointers have got good marks, cleared UPSC. People with paragraphs have got good marks, cleared UPSC. People with both pointers as well as paragraphs together have got good marks and cleared UPSC. So what is the answer? The answer depends upon the requirement of the question. If I say list down the advantages of gold bond scheme, will you start writing in paragraphs? There will be pointers. There can be paragraph also. How will there be paragraphs? If you list down the advantages, you will name one of the advantages and describe it in paragraph. Then the second advantage, then describe it in paragraph. So your answer consists of what? Pointers as well as paragraphs, right? If I tell you write down the list down the advantages as well as disadvantages of something. Now there are 10 advantages, 10 disadvantages. It's a 10-mark question, 150 words. So will you be able to write paragraphs here? No, you will just introduce it. You will have to write conclusion and you will have just 100 words to play with respect to listing down. So you may have to just list down and probably in one sentence give a brief. That's it. Right? But if I tell you, okay, the gold bond scheme has advantages as well as disadvantages, this is your essay topic, for example, which is of 1000 to 1200 words. Now you can use a lot of paragraphs for each pointers. Understood? So depending upon the demand, you will have to intelligently understand whether I should be using pointers or paragraphs. Clear? Clear? Also, at times, what you can do is, you can play with the use of pointers and paragraphs for your benefit. I'll tell you how. Now, in an answer, let's say you are required to mention the features or the advantages, disadvantages, pros or cons or salient features, for example. Now, you know a lot of advantages and disadvantages, right? And it is just a small part of the answer. The answer has asked you other things also, but a small part consists of advantages and disadvantages. And you know a lot of advantages, disadvantages. So you can that particular part of your answer can be what? Point wise. Wherein you can mention 5 advantages plus 5 disadvantages. Make sense? But if let's say you have written like this, let's say I knew only 2 advantages and disadvantages. What will I do? I will use a paragraph. Why? I will write the first advantage and explain a bit. I will write a second advantage, explain a bit. I will write first disadvantage, explain a bit, and I will write second disadvantage and explain it a bit. So what I have done, I have used the paragraph for my advantage. Make sense? Here, writing in pointers will not make sense. Just 2 pointers, the evaluator may think, oh, he knows only 2 points, and my paper will be half empty. My words will not be covered, right? I knew only 2. So what can I do? I can describe them, write a brief about them. You knew 5 and 5. So what you did? You simply used pointers and wrote it down. Understood? This is how you utilize things for the best for yourself. All right? Is this clear? Is this clear? Any doubts? I'm seeing a lot of blank faces and shocking faces. Yes. See, when you're what your focus should always be on supporting what you're writing, right? For example, if I said one of my point is, let's say, intolerance in India has decreased. Now, this is my sentence. If you want to further write a couple of sentences about it, it should be what? Something that supports it. Just because I am saying intolerance has decreased does not mean intolerance has decreased. Just because I am saying it has increased does not mean it has increased. You need to write something to support it. What you can write? You can write some report which suggests that, right? Certain events which suggest that, certain examples which suggest that, right? Developing on the point which you have already given. Clear? For example, if you say, if it's an economics question talking about the increase in prices, so then you mention that the CPI, consumer price index, was this much, or the inflation was 15.2% in the last quarter, whatever. So you give facts and figures to support that, but every time you can't do, so at times you can define them more in depth or talk about them more in depth. For example, if any disadvantage you are writing for anything, let's say you are writing a disadvantage about the market economy. Market economy is an economy where the state is not interfering, right? It is dependent upon the forces of the market. So if you are writing a disadvantage, you can give an example. For example, you are writing that this economy may lead to socio-economically backward population may be devoid of goods and services. Socio-economically backward population may be devoid of services. You have said that. Now the evaluator may think, how? Have you answered the question how? How will socio-economically backward section will be devoid of goods? So you need to explain that when you are elaborating how they will be devoid, because you then write in a market economy, the market forces are deciding the price, and if the socio-economically backward people do not have much purchasing power, they will not be able to purchase the things, as a result of which they will be devoid of the goods and services. That is how you elaborate. Okay, so I think this orderly fashion is very clear. Now coming on to writing concisely. What do we mean by writing concisely? Concisely means writing as much as required, that's it. Not dragging it. For example, just imagine it's such a big essay, 1000 to 1200 words essay. In essay, you will be using a lot of, let's say, depending upon the essay, let's say it's an economic related essay. It's about India's development, or so you will talk about various government schemes which helps in the development of India, growth of India, right? So can you just mention one scheme? Let me just. So what you did in your essay, you mentioned one scheme, and then you're detailing that scheme only. You're saying what this scheme is, what are its provisions, what are its positives, what are its negatives, how it's going to impact. Now, is this required? It's probably not required. The essay is about economic development. You mentioned that this particular scheme leads to equal development of all the sections of society, irrespective of the gender, because it is gender neutral or something like that. It's done. Move ahead. If you want, give one number, fact, or some figure about the scheme, how much impact it has created. That's it. You need not go and tell everything about that particular scheme. It is useless. You are wasting your points. You are wasting your words. You are wasting your time. And it is becoming completely irrelevant. Clear? So that is what is meant by writing concisely. Write as much as is required for that particular essay under that particular point. Do not over drag it. At the same time, do not undercook it. What do we mean by undercooking? Sometimes people just keep mentioning small points. This will lead to gender equality. This will lead to development. This will lead to this. How? How will it lead to that? So this will lead to gender equality because this is the reason. So don't write undercooked sentences, especially in essay where you have 1000 to 1200 words. It will be like a criminal activity to write just it leads to gender equality. You're not answering the question, how will it do it? Assume that the evaluator who's sitting in front of you is not an expert. It's just that you are writing in English, let's say, for example. Just assume that the evaluator just knows English and English words. I need to explain them to that if it is leading to gender equality, my next point should explain how is it leading to gender equality. If it is leading to economic development, if I'm mentioning a point that this particular scheme will lead to economic development, my next point should mention how will it lead to economic development. Clear? Clear? So don't undercook it. At the same time, do not drag it. Okay. Now, effective and exact expression. Effective and exact expression. What do we understand by that? Sometimes what happens is I may want to say something to you and I end up saying something completely different. Miscommunication. Communication gap is what we call it. So the evaluators would understand what point you were actually trying to make. And they would also understand that you are not able to make that point. So they will not give you marks. They will deduct marks. They'll give you less marks. Why? Because it's not just about having the knowledge. They have understood you have the knowledge. But being able to express, tell others is also very important. You will become an IAS officer later on in your career. You will be formulating policies. There are collector declared holidays. Are you aware of collector declared holidays? So a particular region's collector has around 2 to 3 leaves in their power, which they can give at the time of their choosing. So for example, I come from Nagpur, that's in Maharashtra. Okay. In summer, it's very hot. In summer, it is very hot. So at one time, our district collector gave 1 or 2 days leave. Why? Because of the very high temperatures. And this was a collector declared holiday. So then the collector comes out with a complete explanation. A paper is there which is circulated to all the schools, colleges, everywhere. So in that, the reasoning and everything, and also what precaution you should take, have water, go out when if you're going out, be completely wrapped up, drink lots of water, have ORHS, all those things. It's mentioned. So that is for whom? Those are not for, the person who will be evaluating your paper would be an intellectual person, a professor, a PhD holder. But ultimately, when you are an IAS officer, you are governing the entire district. You have people from every walks of life, every section of society, people who are well educated, also people who have no education at all. So you need to be as simplistic as possible to be able to explain things, to be able to tell them things. In your office, there will be many people coming and visiting you, right? So if you have knowledge, but you are not able to express, right, then that will be an issue. So they will understand, they know what you are wanting to express, but you are not able to express. So your marks will be lesser than what you might have got. Okay. So understood the syllabus of essay. This much was present in the syllabus of essay. Now, coming on to I think just make a plus. Coming on to next, how to prepare for essay paper. Now, any answers on how to prepare for essay paper? Yes, please go ahead.
Newspapers. Because they may give topics from the current affairs, see what's going on.
Okay. Okay, good point. Discussions with whom? Among friends. Okay. Among aspirants, basically, aspirant friends. Yes. I want answers from everyone. Yes. She said, read newspaper, editorials are covered in that. Something else. Okay. What? What else? Same thing. What about you? Huh. Very good point. Very good point. What about you? Reading books. What about you? Okay. Reading books. What about you? Asking the person. Huh? Social media. Wow, what an answer. What about you? Huh? Acha, discussions you told. Right. So guys, lower the temperature. Acha, increase the temperature. It's quite cold, right? Okay. Increase it. Huh. So guys, mention not. She mentioned to note down the data facts because that is very important. That is the direction in which our preparation should go on. Whatever others have talked about, a serious aspirant should anyhow be doing that for your GS, prelims and mains. So it's not included in the essay preparation as such. You are reading your current affairs, you're reading your newspaper, editorials, opinion pages, this, that, everything. You are gaining that. Whatever I'll be telling you here will be for a serious aspirant. What do I mean by that? You will be best able to utilize it if you are a serious aspirant. Okay. If you're not doing those basics, not doing current affairs every day, not covering your syllabus, not reading your standard books, not going through your NCRT, and then you think this class is going to help you to get marks equivalent to those of toppers and make you toppers, it's not going to work. Those basic things, attending classes every day here whenever it is scheduled, doing what you are asked to do, doing what your teacher has given you, referring to the notes we give you, that has to be done, right? That is given. Now, how to prepare for essay? For essay, there needs to be certain additional thing which you are required to do. I'll expand on the point which she has said. So what you have to do is, there is something called as pre-preparation. Right? How to go about this? So I had analyzed around 30 years of essay papers. 30 years of essay papers. Now, in these 30 years, there were around there were around 19, to be exact, there were 19 themes on which essays were asked. 19 themes of essay. No one is writing anything. But anyhow, keep focus here. Understand here, more important. You can write it down later on with the recorded lecture also, right? I think you get to view it. So 19 themes of essays were there. What do I mean by themes? By themes, I mean themes like so like this, there were total 19 themes on which essays had come. So what is our job? Our job is to write these 19 themes. Okay? And for each theme, do this. Proverbs, sayings, quotations. Okay? Then certain facts, certain numbers, figures, reports, surveys. Right?
Can we start the essay by quotes?
We'll come on to that. Yes, you can start it. One of my essay was started with the help of one quote. You can do that. Facts, figures, reports, surveys. Then for certain essays, for all the themes, in fact, you have time, you will be giving in 2025, utilize this time for these things. Anecdotes. What are anecdotes? My second essay started with an anecdote. Anecdote is nothing but a short story which you have witnessed, which you were a part of. Now, remember, whenever you are writing anecdotes for essay, they should not be opinionated anecdotes. Opinionated anecdotes means, my next door neighbor belongs to that political party and that person is bad, so the entire people belonging to that political party is bad. That kind of anecdotes, that kind of opinions are not welcome. Don't use that. Let's be very rational and diplomatic here. So anecdotes should be free from those kind of biases and generating opinion, right? But anecdotes can be how, for example, in the second section I had written, it was about cyber security, internet, whether it's a boon or bane to the human civilization. So I started with an anecdote talking about that I was having my breakfast and my morning converted into morning. There's a difference. Morning means good morning. Morning means when you are grieving because of some sad news. The moment I, read XYZ news of bombing XYZ on my mobile phone. So I was giving a picture that how easily I have the access to the news just with the help of my mobile phone. Again, a part of technology. But then on that mobile phone, which helped me to get educated. Now that mobile phone, I am reading about some bombings which are happening again with due to technological development or whatever it is. So you talk both the perspectives. So that's a short story you can use to start your essay, right? And then you continue your essay. So anecdotes are what? Just write it down. Short stories, very short. Have you gone through NCRTs? Gone through NCRTs? Which NCRT have you gone through? Acha. So NCRTs of economic development, in that stories are there. It starts with a story and then tells you the details and then completes that story. Talks about a story of a female farmer who's there. She's doing this, she's doing that, and then talks about all the concepts of farming and GDP and everything, and then concludes it. So what is that? That is an anecdote. An anecdote need not necessarily be our experience. You can also have an anecdote, a different anecdote also. You can also have someone else's anecdote. So all these things are required to be done for these 19 themes. Now, you may not be able to get anecdotes for all 19. Anecdote becomes a bit difficult, but proverbs, sayings, quotes, plus facts, figures, reports, surveys, these things are very important. It is a must for each and every theme. If you are not getting it, reach out to me. I'll tell you where you can get it, or source and all I'll give you. Just for example, there is an essay on gender equality. So in 2016, when I wrote the essay, what had happened was, every time they have the topic in English, then they translate it in Hindi. In fact, it's the other way around. The topic is first mentioned here in Hindi or whatever. So basically the idea is your paper has Hindi as well as English, right? So in English, that topic was something else, and in Hindi, they translated completely different, and the topic became completely different. And I had written that particular essay. And after finishing my exam, I did not worry to look back at it. I was like, done. I'm done with my mains. Now let me relax a bit, have some time with my friends and family. So I forgot it. After a couple of weeks, when I switched on TV, Rajya Sabha TV was going on. There I got this news that Mr. Shashi Tharoor reached out to the UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, saying that you made a translation mistake in translating the topic from English to Hindi. So I request you on behalf of all the aspirants that all those who have written this particular topic, if they have considered this to be the topic, consider it to be this and evaluate it. If they have considered this and written the answer, then consider this to be the topic and evaluate it. And the UPSC agreed to that, and they have done that only because there was a mistake in translation. Okay. So there was a word engendered. Engendered means to give rise to something, right? That word translated in Hindi, they wrote Stri Purush Samanta, gender equality. And I know Hindi. So I was like, okay, Stri Purush Samanta, they are talking about gender equality. My optional was sociology. I was like, let me write this essay. I did not pay attention on the English part, because that very clearly said, na, Stri Purush Samanta, right? So that was the thing. So why I'm saying is, the essay was on gender equality. Now, let's say when you're talking about gender equality, if you give certain facts which are going to blow someone's mind, make them in awe or shock, they will be amazed and they will give you more marks. Just for example, I'll tell you, if in gender equality, I mentioned a survey by the Economic and Political Weekly, which said that 50% or more than 50% of married females, married women, agreed or believe that it is okay for their husbands to beat them. That it is justified for their husbands to beat them. Now, the moment you tell something like this, and it has to be correct, you cannot make it up on your own, okay? Because they can cross-check it, and they may also know it already. This is a very famous survey and has been done by multiple agencies, and that's the finding, that more than 50% of the married women thought at times it is justified for their husbands to beat them. So what point I wanted to make here? The point I wanted to make here is that the oppressed, that the victim themselves are not aware of their rights, right? Of their rights, of what is wrong, what is not, and they have normalized these things. Now, that does not mean we victimize the victim further, saying that you yourself are saying that it is okay, so now do hell with it, we are not helping. We can't do that, because first of all, they are already a victim. If we have that kind of an approach, we will be victimizing them. So what approach should we have? The approach should be to educate them, to create awareness. So the moment you write such surveys, such pointers, such facts, and the way you write it, for example, if you write 20% of the people in India end up hungry. Instead of writing 20%, why can't we write 1 in every 5? 1 out of 5. That gives a more realistic picture. 1 out of every 5 child is stunted, is hungry, whatever the factors. So how you present it is also becomes important, and this is very important. Also, now what other thing I did in essay is, see, now when you write in UPSC, you actually don't know what worked and what did not. Okay, but still with the experience we have, we tell you the most optimum things which work and which don't. So one more thing I talked about here is, at that time, recently the government has also brought out transgender bill, Transgender Amendment Act, right? So I also mentioned about transgender. And I think this also is one of the things which helped. Because when you're talking about gender equality, the majority of your answer will be focused on male, female. But if one paragraph or a couple of sentences or a few sentences or a consideration of transgender is also there, if 1,000 people have written that essay, 900 plus will not mention this. And that is what will give you the edge. Okay, these things are very important. Okay, so we have understood how to prepare these 19 themes. I'll give you the themes. I have the entire document made with me. So based on that, whatever the themes are there for every theme, have these things made, right? And that is all your preparation for essay, because the rest of the preparation you're already doing when you are seriously studying for your GS prelims and mains. Apart from that, of course, you will be writing essays. We'll come on to essay writing. We'll come on to how to best utilize your essay writing and essay test series. Okay. Is this clear for everyone? Let's discuss that point only next. What is the next point? Next point is how to utilize essay writing, or let me say essay test series. How do we best utilize this? By writing all the essays in the test, right? Right? See, we have been giving tests since a long time, school, college, test series, coaching, institute. There we write answers, we write tests to see where we are and then keep improving, right? But that's not going to work here, because even when your answers are checked, if I just mention in your answer, add this, add that, write this scheme, write that scheme, instead of mentioning all that, I could have simply told that go and study more, revise more. That's the content. But more than the content part, what is important is, are you understanding what the question is asking? Are you able to address the demand of the question? Have you addressed all the sections of the question? Have you addressed all the dimensions of the question? Those are very important things. As far as content is concerned, you are having classes regularly here. We are teaching you, we are telling you, we are giving you notes. That's your responsibility to now read and revise, right? But these structural things are very important. Okay. So even if you have too much of knowledge, but if too much of knowledge is not structured properly, you're not giving me what I have asked you, then it's not going to matter. So how to best utilize the essay test series? There are few important pointers here. Very first thing is, if let's say today is an essay test, what kind of an essay you may write? You may write the essay in which you feel most comfortable. Avoid that in test series. Avoid that when you are practicing. Okay. Why I'm saying this is, if you are writing, let's say 5 tests in test series, so you will write 10 essays. Let's not do that. All 10 essays are those which I found the easiest. Don't do that. The essays in which you are uncomfortable, probably you are uncomfortable in philosophical essay, write it. Why? Because if you see 2 years back essay paper, one of the section consisted of all philosophical topics. Now what will you do? If your strength was economics or your strength was sociology and you were giving the exam in 2022, one section completely consisted of philosophy essay. You can't do anything about it. You will have to write philosophy essay, and you have zero practice of philosophy essay writing. And that's the first time you're going to write over there, right? So in test series, your main purpose, guys, should not be, of course, to get marks, it's there. To improve on previous mistakes is there. To keep increasing the marks, it is there. But also to understand what other things are required. You need to get amazing marks in UPSC. That's the ultimate goal. So write essays on difficult topics also. So if you are giving a test, you realize in section A, there is a philosophy essay also, sociological essay also. My strength is sociological, but in this test, let me write a philosophy essay. In section B, I can write an easy one probably. Don't start writing all difficult ones only. Then you will not practice what your strength is. The idea is to practice all kinds of essays. Be it the essay in the area of your strength, be it the essay in the area of your weakness. Does this make sense? Any doubts? Clear? So, this is how you should do. Secondly, stop mindlessly writing essays after essays or answers after answers. It is of no use if you are not, looking at the feedback and improving on the feedback. If you have written an essay, I have checked your essay paper, I have given you certain feedback. You don't pay attention to that. You write another essay, you make the same mistakes. I give you similar feedback, right? And then again, you write another essay, make the same mistakes. What is happening? It's your loss. Why is it your loss? Because every time you're making the 10 same mistakes. So every time I'm giving you the same feedback, you are not improving. If I have given you this 10 mistakes and you improved on 9 of them, the next time I'm going to again tell you about 10 mistakes. Only one you have repeated, but the remaining 9 are the new ones. So start making new mistakes. That will be better. Stop making same mistakes. Avoid making same mistakes. If you're making same mistakes, you are not utilizing the test series which is available to you. You are not utilizing the feedback I have given you. If I have given some feedback that don't write it like this, or add certain things when you are writing this point, and in next essay also you're doing the same, what is the use of you writing the other essay also? There's no use. It just gives us psychological comfort that yes, I have written all the 5 tests, good. But actually what is happening? You know the difference between real GDP and nominal GDP? So you are nominally writing it, but in reality, what is happening? The value in reality is very low, right? So what important things we have understood? Write essays on difficult topics also. That does not mean only difficult topics. Okay? So mix and match. Try and test all types of topics. If you are uncomfortable in philosophical essays, write those. You are comfortable in sociological essays, write those also. Test yourself in every type of essay. Then whatever feedback you are given, what you have to do is avoid them, avoid the mistakes, incorporate the feedback. So when you are getting your checked answer copy, please don't only look at the marks. Look at the comment which is there. What has been mentioned, why it has been mentioned, how to avoid that, and consciously start avoiding that. When you consciously start avoiding, after some time, unconsciously, you will start avoiding it. Unconscious mind is a more powerful mind. Initially, you will have to consciously pay attention to not do that mistake. Once that becomes a habit, automatically you will stop making that mistakes. Okay. And at times, if you're not understanding what that comment is, you want a clarity, you can ask for the clarity also. That, sir, you have mentioned this. What do you mean by that? Please explain. Okay. So we have understood how to utilize was essay test series. Now, about the essay paper. Now let's talk about essay paper. So of course, this paper is also of 3 hours, right? 2 sections, A and B. Okay. Section A, 4 topics are given. You have to write an essay on any one. Section B, again 4 topics you have to write on any one. So basically in 3 hours you have to write 2 essays. Now each essay (1,000 to 1,200 words. Are we aware of these basics? Yes, any doubts? 1,000 to 1,200 words. Now before 2014, you were required to write only 1 essay. Are you aware of that? So let's say if you're writing mains in 2011 or 12, there was just 1 single essay of 2,500 words. Okay. Then they changed it to 2 essays of 1,000 to 1,200 words. Okay. Now, these basics are clear. Anyone who was not aware of this? You all were aware of this? Okay. So I'll tell you one interesting point then. 1,000 to 1,200 words you have to write. You will get 11 sides of pages to write 1 essay. Were you aware of this also? Why I'm saying this is because you are utilizing these kind of books to write. That's very good, so that you get a habit, so that you should exactly know. You cannot go and count the number of words. You should exactly know that, for example, in 1 page I write 110 to 120 words, or 100 words, or 110 words. So there will be 11 such pages. So if you are writing 100 words in 1 page, 1100 words, and you're done. And also I told you, because once you have written a considerable amount now, you should check how much you have done, or else what will happen? You'll keep writing, turning the page, write, turn the page, and then write, and you are in the middle of the main body, and suddenly when you turn, it's the last page. Then it will clearly look like an abrupt conclusion, because whatever point you are continuing, you have to continue that. And then if you have just talked about what can be done, solution afterwards, you have not talked about challenges, how to overcome those challenges, you have to write all that, then conclude. That will be an issue. So you need to keep a track of that also. Very important. These are small things, but guys, these are very important things. You are here studying, giving your time and energy, effort, and you cannot let these small things decide the outcome of the exam, right? So 11 sides, as in, if you open a book, the book is like this, page 1, page 2, right? Like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like that. Okay. Okay. Any doubts anyone has so far about what all we have discussed? No doubts? All right. Now let's come to no, this much only, as in
how to keep on track till we conclude everything, each and everything.
I'll come on to that. How we keep a track. We'll utilize I'm coming exactly to that point. You will get your answer. Okay. How to keep a track. How to keep a track will be included on the next point, which we'll be discussing. How to attempt essay paper. It is the most important point of this class. Yes. How to attempt essay paper. Now, what all things do you think must be included in this? How to attempt essay paper? What do I mean by this? Okay. So, you have 3 hours, right? It starts from time management also. We'll be discussing about time management also. So, you have 3 hours. That means 1.5 hours per essay. So, if I ask you how much time you should take to write an essay, what should be the answer? Yeah. 1 minute. Write one essay in 1 hour. Okay. So, write one essay in 1 hour. That means 2 essays would be written in 2 hours. So, what are we doing with that 1 hour left? This 1 hour we will distribute 30 minutes and another 30 minutes. For what? The framework of first essay and the other 30 minutes for the framework of second essay. Now, here's your answer, how you will keep a track of how much to cover and where. Because your framework has to be very comprehensive. So you will know if I'm writing about the features of it, the provisions of it, the positives, the negatives, right? What are the challenges? What are the solution? And what are the solutions? What are the challenges? How to overcome those challenges? And I'm finally concluding it. In that also we'll go into the details. For example, when you talk about solutions, so in that the framework of the essay is not like this, that I will introduce, right? Then I will talk about the features. Then I will talk about the provisions it has. And then I will talk about the advantages, then disadvantages. Then I'll talk about the solution. Then I'll talk about challenges. Then I'll talk about how to overcome. And then I'll conclude. This is not a framework which I'm talking about. This is to we do it in our head when we write answers because we don't have much time. When I say framework, the framework is, I'll just give you an example to what depth you have to go. Okay. So when we are talking about the framework, so let's say I'm talking about solution. So under solution, I should clearly then mention, I will talk about, let's say, short-term solutions. This is how you break it down. I will talk about short-term solutions. Right? Under short-term solutions, I will talk about solutions at individual level. Right? At community or societal level. Right? By the government, by the government, by non-governmental organizations, let's say NGOs, etc. So you can probably write this point first, NGOs point first, with the help of NGOs and stuff. Then talking about government, basically talking about at India level with the government, and then talking about the short-term solution which is there at world level. So what have you done? You have broken down solution into number one, short term. Under short term, what are the solutions in individual, community, NGO, non-governmental organization, etc., government, and the world. Then similarly, you have long-term solutions. Now, long-term solution can also have similar bifurcations over here also. So just imagine, under solution, you have broken down solution into long-term, short-term. Under short-term, there are 5 heads. Under long-term also, there can be 5, 6 heads. Right? So what have we done? We have created 10 subheadings. You don't have to write it as headings, but just understand we have created 10 subheadings. Now, if under every subheading, you write 2 sentences each, it's over 200 words. So of course, that's why you won't write 202 sentences under each, but you can have at least one sentences under each. So one sentence under each, meaning every sentence 10-12 words, some a bit more, some a bit less, so on an average 10-12 words. So just your solution is done in what? 100 words, 1 page completely for solution. Then next page. So this is the depth at which you have to make your framework in the rough space given to you. Clear? Clear? Right? So this will give a clear idea how much you will be utilizing. And you will exactly know. For example, now you know your framework. So you'll keep checking the framework and writing your essays. Right? So the moment you're coming on solution and writing out, there can be short-term as well as long-term solutions. The short-term solutions are as below. Number 1, at individual level. Dot. And then you write 1 or 2 sentences. You know you have to write only 1 or 2. You will know that you don't have to write the entire page under individual, because you know there are 9 more fields to come. Right? So this is how it helps you to keep a track how much to write under what. If you make an amazing template or a framework, your job is half done. It's like, just imagine, it's like a template. Right? All you have to do is turn the page. Let's convert it into an essay. So you will write, this issue can have the this issue has short-term as well as long-term solutions. Following are the short-term solutions. Number 1, at individual level, you can do this, this, this. Further, at community and societal level, you can do this, this, that. At the same time, you can take the help of NGOs as well. Right? And then, so you are different pointers or passages, paragraphs, and you write this down. Yeah. And then finally, talking about the long-term solutions, they are described below. Then you talk about long-term solutions and your solutions are completed. In essays, make sure you break it down. In essays, you have to go into depth. You cannot simply talk, following are the solutions 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it is not making sense. You were given 1200 words and you are writing as if you are writing an answer. It will not make sense. In an answer, it makes sense. Solutions are 1, 2, 3, 4. End of story. But in essays, this is what is going to make sense. Okay. And this is how you are going to create the structure. So just for solution, we took this much time, this much effort, and these many pointers. Like this, to begin, you will know what proverb you will start with, how you will introduce it, then what are the features you will talk about, and all those things. So everything you will be breaking it down. That is why easily you will require 20, 25 to 30 minutes. And don't exceed 30 minutes, because, you know, writing 10, 11 pages, 1100, around 1100 words, it will take 1 hour to write it properly. Okay. So this can be done, I would say, This can be done in 25 minutes. And this, of course, 25 minutes. Also, now what is also important is selecting the topic. On what basis should we select the essay topic? And sometimes it can also happen that you decided in section A, I will write this essay. In section B, I'll write that essay. After finishing section 1, again, go through section B topics and see if your mind is still wanting to write that essay or not. Okay, let's discuss in detail about, is this clear? Is this clear? The time distribution and the framework, how much time to give and all, right? Around 25 minutes, 5 minutes probably initially, to 5 to 10 minutes in initially only. You know, initially you would probably use 10 minutes to just see which one you will write, right? You will decide for both, for example, and then you will start making the framework for this, and then write the essay, then make framework for the other one, and then write the essay. Okay. Sometimes it can also happen. I think it happened with me. What I did is I selected a topic and I started making framework. Then I realized, no, I should take some other topic. So that is not a problem. It's okay. But it should not happen that after 30 minutes you are realizing it. Okay. Now, why does that happen is because when you look at the topic, it's, let's say, very attractive for you. You know, I like football. So now if there is a topic of football in essay, I'll be like, oh my God, football topic, I'm going to write this. But if I go into the detail, probably the football, they are talking about something very specific in football. So whenever the topic is very specific, it limits you. It limits you in the sense then you need to have that limited particular specific knowledge to write it. So if they talk about, there was an essay on the topic federalism. So federalism is a very limited, it's a very specific topic, federalism. So you need your content knowledge should be very strong to write on federalism. That Kaveri issue was going on, I think. So at that time, the federalism, I think at that time, one essay on federalism was there, right? So that becomes very specific. You do not have generic points to write. You cannot write anything generic then. You have to be very specific on that, right? So that happens. You are attracted, but then you realize you don't have much points. So always give a second thought as well. Now coming on to how to select the topic. So what are the criteria you will use to select the essay topics? Please go ahead one by one. Based on optionals. So whatever optional you have, you don't take that topic, or whatever optional you have, you take that topic. So tell clearly, na? Okay. What about you? Okay. You? Same. What same? The topic on which you know more. Okay. Depending upon? Reading, how much you have read more. Very good. Well articulated. In an essay class, we are sitting, at least articulate it nicely. Okay.
So the one which is running in news, that's an important topic.
One which is running in news, how is that the criteria? Let's say genome editing is running in the news and the topic is on genome editing. See, that brings me to a very interesting point which I will discuss. Sometimes what people do is, let's say there are these topics A, B, section A, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. and section B, there is 1, 2, 3, 4. Or let's say 5, sorry, 5, 6 I should do, because they continue the numbering. 5, 6, 7, 8. What people do is they see, they think this is a very common topic. Everyone is going to write on that. Very common topic. Very common topic. As in, most of the people are going to write on this. Now, this is a rare topic in the sense that very rarely people will write on this. So what I will do is, I will choose this topic, because I want to show the evaluator that, see, I have written on this topic. Right? So please understand, this applies in another way also. You know, we don't study. For example, I used to not study much. And I'm like, oh, without studying only, I'm doing this much. But I won't get any additional marks for that. Is it like they compare the number of hours studied? So someone who studies for 10 hours a day, let's say got 100 marks. I studied for 5 hours a day and I got 55. So they will extrapolate it and say that if Toha would have studied for 10 hours, he would have got 110 marks. Hence, Toha will get the seat. Does it work like that? No, right? Does the evaluator know whether this area is of your strength or not? If it's, let's say, on gene editing, probably the evaluator thinks you are a biotechnologist, biochemist. You have done your engineering in biochemistry. That's why you have written. So just because how many people are writing, that does not, is not the criteria. These criteria are useless criteria. Never go with that. Never ever go with that. Did you take the optional also like that? If whichever is the least chosen optional, I'll take that optional. So if they did not apply there, then how can it apply here?